Okay, you gotta be kidding me. Jonathan Gannon throws more shade at Philly, blaming others while putting Nick Sirianni on blast. And even crazier motivational tactics. The Eagles shared injury updates and why Sean Desai's defense will be unlike anything we've seen. Plus, news on the punter situation. But first, let's run it. Hey guys, just a couple more sleeps until the season opener for the Birds, as Nick Sirianni's group held their first game week practice going through some drills and Jalen getting loose throwing some screens. Also excited to see Cam Jurgens in his first regular season action at right guard. Never a bad thing to practice a Dikembe Mutombo tip drill, I guess, which the DBs also got some work, although we still don't know officially, but curious to see if Sidney Brown starts or comes off the bench. The further this thing goes, I feel like he won't start Sunday, but I'd love to be proven wrong. It also looks like Boston Scott will be the primary kick returner based on the depth chart and Jeff McClain's report. Although Rashad Penny was next in line and was practicing there most of training camp, so wouldn't hate to see that. Unfortunately, we got the worst news of all with Arryn average on my best day Siposs, as the 30-year-old was seen on the practice field holding kicks for Jake the Great. What a waste of a number 10. Clearly should have allowed Tanner McKee to keep the number instead of changing to number 19. Okay, obviously this isn't an official report that Siposs will be the punter holder, but the fact that we're about 3 days away from game day and none of the 4 guys the Eagles have brought in for a workout have been signed isn't the best sign. Yet despite how much we all dislike Siposs, he wasn't the reason we lost the Super Bowl. Jonathan Gannon was. Like, really. JG actually admitted in a recent interview with The Athletic saying, "I'm the reason we lost the Super Bowl." Gosh, you know what? I mean, I almost feel bad for all the things I said bad about Gannon. For him to man up and admit something like that, maybe he's not such a poser after all. Well, it turns out he was joking despite initial reports who took it and ran with it, as I think we all realize context is key. And the real-life Michael Scott was simply mimicking the criticism when he said, "I'm the reason we lost the Super Bowl," which was similar to the same joke he told about Philly wanting to fire him earlier this year.
We were 9-0, and I did my presser, and they say, "Coach, we want you fired." And I said, "Well, we're the number 1 defense in the NFL right now in every statistical category. Why do you want me fired? You don't blitz enough." I said, "Well, we lead the league in sacks by 30-plus sacks. So if you want to come call the defense, and you can have at it." But no, it's cool. They have a job to do, and I understand that.
Bro, like this dude. At least Gannon did finally admit to regretting it, saying that was a mistake by me, clarifying that he wasn't referring to the beat reporters, but something he'd heard on a radio show his first year there. And then adding, it was literally supposed to be a joke.
What the hell are you talking about? Who are you talking to?
Well, I missed it then, and I don't think anyone was laughing. I suppose you could say at least he admitted to blowing the touchdown to Chiefs wide receiver Sky Moore with 9:26 left in the 4th. Sharing the second one is on the call, truthfully. Oh, so we want to tell the truth now. Okay, Gannon said, "That's a tough pass. Like if I was the defensive backs coach, we probably would have busted that too." That's how I always kind of think, if I was coaching it, would we be okay? Probably not. All right, I lied. Even when everyone, including his former players, recognized JG didn't put them in a position to win, all he can say is probably not. And perhaps the craziest part of it all is Gannon putting Sirianni on blast. Recalling during the 2021 season when the Eagles were 2-5, Sirianni stormed into a meeting venting about how he wasn't sure he could call the offense and manage the game how he needed to. Where according to the assistant to the regional manager, he said, "So give the play calling to Shane Steichen." To which Sirianni responded, "Well, they're going to look at me like I'm a failure." And then Gannon said confidently, "Who gives an F? We're going to get fired if we're 3-14. All right, I can't blame you if you don't exactly believe JG's story.
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself?
However, as most of us probably know, Sirianni did end up giving up the play calling. And at least Gannon did have some nice things to say about his boss, sharing, truthfully, Nick was a way better head coach than I thought he'd be. The detail that Nick demands is effing nauseating. But I actually needed that in my game. He held my nuts to the fire where nobody I ever worked for did that. Which is cool, except JG may continue avoiding Sirianni's calls after his recent comments.
I tried to call Jonathan yesterday, obviously. He didn't answer, though, but he's busy, all right? He's busy.
Yep, I'd be busy, too, if my motivational tactics were as off the wheels as his.
Welcome back. Who drove over here? Quick, let me see your hands. Who took the bus? Did you have fire in your gut? Did you? We're here for a reason. Don't get that twisted, okay? We're here for a reason to win games. So if you didn't have that fire in your gut, you better light the fire pretty fast. Be who you are. Just understand, I'm looking for killers.
I mean, watching that, there are just no words.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
Also, I'm sure we thought of this, but if the Cardinals' social media team are releasing that type of footage, imagine what they don't want to show. Apparently, some of the players like it though, with former Eagles receiver Zach Pascal sharing, Gannon will sometimes start screaming at him when they pass each other in the hallway to get him fired up.
I still love that after 7 years.
JG can keep believing that load of crap that they're not going to have a tanked season. All I know is that Caleb Williams at USC has to be watching thinking, there ain't no way I'm playing for that dude. The Cardinals just don't stand a chance, much like the Patriots don't on Sunday. But at least Belichick is a little more realistic about the Philadelphia defense, saying their front is a very dominant front. They're the best pass rushing front in the league by, I'd say, quite a bit. So they can roll those guys out there pretty comfortably and bring in other guys that are just as explosive and dangerous. They have a great combination of power and speed in the pass rush front. Look, we all know that, right? With the depth that we have and perhaps one player in particular that we can't wait to see. With Eagles defensive coordinator Sean Desai saying there might be an advantage going in because teams haven't seen Jalen Carter or his D. Okay, I think that was a Freudian slip if there is such a thing on Twitter, but the DC did go on to say, ask me after the game if we had an advantage. And hopefully we finally get to see what Desai's been hyping up since he got here.
The city's team's got to reflect the city. And we've got some grit, we've got some toughness, we want to be able to impose our will. We're not going to take really anything from anybody.
All I can say is I wouldn't want to be Mac Jones. Even he recognized Philly has the best D-line in football, saying at the end of the day, we just have to go out there and compete, try and control what we can control, and understand that we're going against a bunch of beasts and baby rhinos. But good luck to you, Mac. Another beast the Birds have on the other side of the ball is Jalen Hurts. Despite Mike Martz saying yesterday that Belichick will create chaos and problems for number one, the Pats head coach was asked if quarterback Malik Cunningham has been able to help mimic Jalen Hurts in practice this week, to which Belichick responded, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, he didn't start off with that, but he did say, you're talking about arguably the best player in the league or one of the top 2 or 3 best players in the league. Nobody has anybody that can be him. Okay, perhaps Bill's starting to grow on some people. Sure, I realize pressers are never the place to give bulletin board material, and of course Belichick of all people isn't gonna say anything negative about the team he's playing, but I still love to hear it. Another thing I love to see is my favorite rook, Nolan Smith, has the Philly Dawgs hat at his locker, repping the hats by Philly Mike. Obviously based on all the Georgia dudes we got, as the core started a group chat called Philly Dawgs, according to the Inquirer, with Smith recalling, our first off day we were in there FaceTiming with each other just talking about practice and what we see. Those connections are real. And JD even added, we do everything together. If we're not together, we're always talking to each other. It's just that little security because at the end of the day, football is football, but we care about them on a deeper level. Those are my bros. Definitely love to see and hear the chemistry. I've also got a link in the description in case you want to cop a copy of the hat. Getting back to the game, I think anytime there's an unknown, that's definitely an advantage, which is exactly what Sirianni said on Tuesday, in that they didn't want to show a lot of things during the preseason, but with a first-year coordinator on both sides of the ball in Brian Johnson and Desai, there's definitely an advantage. Or maybe you see it as a disadvantage given the lack of experience. I know we've talked about this in the past, but I'm confident Brian Johnson will be fine given his relationship with Jalen and past experience game planning for the offense. And then I also don't really have to argue for Desai over Gannon, do I? Yes, there's always a prove it to me first approach, and there will probably be a little growing pains initially, so I'm gonna say something like Eagles win 24-20 or 20-17. But go ahead and let me know why I'm wrong or what predictions you see for the score. Either way, Howie feels pretty good about the team, except not too good, because he said in a recent interview, well, I never feel too good. I don't know, that's in my DNA, always trying to get us better. So not sure entirely if that means the Eagles are gonna make a move. Probably not immediately, although it wouldn't completely shock me if all of a sudden we saw a name pop up. It's also worth mentioning that Dave Zangaro reported the Eagles are very healthy heading into week 1. Every player on the 53-man roster was practicing, including Haason Reddick, who will play through a thumb injury that needed surgery, and also Dallas Goedert, who had missed a day last week. We did get a minor scare from Josh Jobe when he left practice and ended up going into the medical tent, but it seems like he'll be okay. So at least something to continue to monitor. All right, live show in just a bit with Thomas Mott and Philly 500 in case anyone wants to swing by. This has been the Philly Special.